This is my custom intervalometer device, but really it's an Apple mouse that I doused with nail polish remover and caught on fire on my balcony.
Just sort of like a little barbecue. Whoa.
A lot of the challenge was the sound work and just sort of filling in the blanks to help complete the story, make it believable and also interesting. I wish that this device actually existed. Also was having trouble finding a good sound effect for whenever there were echo trails happening, and I sort of came upon just this quick little blip sound, which I thought was kind of nice. For a while I was trying to look for camera shutter sounds. All the ones I found, like, they were cool, but then when I put them together and used them a bunch, they just get old after a while and kind of boring. This was one version. There were a couple of shots that I didn't end up using just for pacing. I just kind of wanted to get through the video. But these guys were so talented and they did so many different tricks and stuff. And I wish I could have shown them all. When the device is sort of smoking at the end, what I did with this was just filmed it on my iPhone in my apartment. And the red that you see behind the camera is actually a red towel. From my apartment. You can see my carpet and you can see the edge of the towel there while it's smoking. It really was smoking. I put a bunch of nail polish remover on it and lit it on fire. The artifacting comes from a plugin called DigiEffects Damage, and you can do artifact and blockade and all these different cool things that give it that pixelated damaged sensor look. It was kind of fun to play around with. Let me just say that they make these tricks look so much easier than they are. I got up on the bar here. I really need to start working out because I could barely swing, much less do triple flips. Here we are in After Effects, and I want to show you kind of how I did this effect. Here you can see the digital copies of Paul as he's jumping on the Mario blocks. Since this was a handheld shot, I used null objects in After Effects to track the footage as it goes along. So you can see how I move forward each frame. This box is tracking to the little cubbyhole up here. And I also did a second null object that tracks to this little dot on the Mario block. And what that lets me do is, once I have everything cut out, I can track each one of these freeze frames of him to the scene, so it looks like they're kind of floating with the scene as the camera moves. This is actually one of the tells that this is not a real video, because if there was a device out there that was able to freeze images in this way, the tracking part of it wouldn't happen. This is what it would look like. I'm just going to take freeze frame right here and make it so it's not tracked with the scene. You can see that it just sort of floats with the camera as it's basically in the same spot on the sensor. Would make it look messy and kind of uninteresting if all the freeze frames just sort of went with the handheld. It would just clutter up the screen. So by locking it to the scene, it actually makes it a little more interesting, like it's actually there. And in order to make the cutouts, I used this tool called the Rotobrush tool in After Effects, which has completely saved me. I don't know if I'd be able to do this or have the patience to do this without that tool. You can see Paul completely cut out here, and that's because of this Rotobrush tool. How it works is, it's like a paintbrush. You can paint over an object and it will be smart about finding the edges of that object if there's enough contrast around it. It still takes a lot of time, but you can go frame by frame and follow the object as you go, and it'll help you. It'll kind of stick to the edges as it moves, but you know, every other frame or so you might get to it and it'll look like this, and you just have to tell it, no, you want to keep on him here, here, and you go frame by frame until you have it all cut out. And the cool part is that there's settings in Rotobrush that you can make the edge smoother, you can have a feather, and once I have that cut out, I can basically freeze frame at any point and then duplicate the footage and have the footage keep going on top of it, so that this layer, which would be a freeze frame here, stays as the footage goes on. Hopefully that makes sense. I wanted to make this scene really screw up as if the sensor is burning through. And so what I did was, and I'll move this to quarter resolution because takes a while for this scene to render. There's so much going on. There were different areas, like up here, the white wall I masked off, and then I added some separate effects to that. There's this plugin called Pixel Poly that's in After Effects. That's just an animation that sort of makes it look like there's cubes coming apart. I masked off different parts of the frame and just color corrected each part sort of screwy, so it looks like everything about the sensor's coming apart. Here's a Frosty shot that I didn't end up using of him swinging around the pole. Literally every frame is frozen. For some reason it just didn't feel as interesting as the others, so I didn't use it. But in the same way, I just used the rotor brush tool. He's basically cut out, and after every frame I froze him, and then he travels over, or he keeps going basically, but he's cut out so you can see all the frozen frames behind him. This is Lucy Romberg. Everyone was so talented that helped me out, and this Tempest Freerunning Academy is amazing. You should definitely check it out if you're in the LA area. They teach classes, you can sign up to use the facility. They have lots of really cool areas, as you can see some of them in the video, to just sort of practice and get better. Some of these shots, it just seemed more interesting to me not to have every frame frozen, but just some of them, and especially since the trick was supposed to be that when she touches the trigger on her palm, that's when the copies happen. And in the same way, the same trick happened. Each one of these layers is a still of her. Still, 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 still. And then on top of that is the footage of Lucy just completely cut out so that you can see the stills behind her. The chips that they're holding are basically just broken off pieces of an old stick of RAM that I tied a battery to with wire. I thought it would look convincing enough for quick shots. Some of the tricks almost seem more impressive without the effect on it. If you haven't already subscribed to this channel, Picture Hop 2, or the main channel, youtube.com/picturehop, please do, and I will talk to you later. Thanks, guys.